Coming to you from the studios at the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66, it's the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast.
Rock and roll Chicago, rock and roll Chicago, my hometown. Well, I was born in the city, gonna rock the city, Chicago. Chicago rock and rollers are the best you're ever around.
Hey, everybody, it's Ray the Roadie.
And this is Hollywood Mike. How's it going, Ray?
It's a very windy night out.
It is a very windy
It's
night out.
crazy coming here, man.
Yeah, but you know, you had the most exciting day, though. Is it something you can talk about?
I can talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if you had to sign some type of
No, I
release
was
and say you
I
can't
was a
talk
TV
about it or
star
anything?
today. I was on Chicago Fire. I had a few little parts in there, and when it comes out, you'll see it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. So for today, I'm gonna be Mike the Roadie, and you're Hollywood Ray.
I'll
I
be
guess.
Hollywood Ray. Yeah, I can be. Yeah,
That was a cool picture you sent me.
Yeah,
What was it? Was that like a car wreck or something? In the front
yeah.
of the
It was like the street exploded and the flames are coming out of the street.
coming out of the street.
That's gonna be. It's gonna be the. It's gonna. They'll start advertising. It's the crossover episode. You know where they put med, fire, and PD all together, and so one big storyline. So that's gonna be.
Yeah, I have to admit, I don't think I've watched network television ever since I started streaming.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to let me know the date that this one's coming out.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen an episode of Chicago.
I hope I don't make the cutting room floor, but you never know.
Well, at least you make something of it.
That's right. That's
Who
right.
knows? Yeah. I mean, otherwise it's just kind of left up in the air.
That's true.
It's kind of left up in the atmosphere.
Just up in the atmosphere, and it gets pretty fierce up there.
Yeah, it does.
It does. Gets very fierce up there.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that we got the fierce atmospheres here tonight.
So they can take care of that. Folks,
That's right.
Yeah,
How's
the
it going,
fierce
guys?
Atmospheres.
All right. Great, man.
Who we got here tonight?
John Ash,
And what do you do, John? What do you do in the band?
drums.
Drums. All right.
I'm Albert Ripka. I'm the vocalist.
All righty.
And I'm Eric Goslin, the guitarist.
The guitarist. Okay, I was going to say you're not the bass player. The bass player is always the
Nope.
person that gets left behind.
Yeah. Sometimes by choice.
But now, how many are actually in the band? Was it five?
We're a five-piece.
Five
yes.
piece. Okay.
So our guitar player and other guitar player and bass player couldn't make it.
Yeah. Okay.
And who are they? That isn't one of them
That's
your
Lance
brother?
King on bass and Marco Severini on guitar.
I thought I saw another Goslin in the.
No.
No. Okay.
But speaking of guitars, real quick.
Yes.
Did you see? It came out just a couple of days ago about what Gibson's doing.
No.
Everybody that's got an American-made Gibson, those things are probably going to suddenly be worth a fortune.
I used to.
Really?
I didn't want to hear that.
Yeah, they are. I've got the article here. I read it. They are moving all manufacturing operations to Indonesia.
Whoa.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if they're planning on keeping like a select
Like a
group
custom
that
shop
are,
or something.
that are still going to be made in the U.S. But the article that I read, it said they're moving all of their manufacturing to Indonesia, and they're
Well, I've got two of them.
yeah, no kidding. But I mean, it kind of broke my heart a little bit. I mean, I'm not a Gibson fan myself, but I know a lot of people who are, and it's like, okay, now you're going to go buy a Les Paul, right? And if it's made in Indonesia, do you really have to buy a Les Paul anymore?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
And the irony is that they're cracking down on all these fake manufactured Gibsons that are coming from overseas.
Right.
So now how are they going to determine that if they're all made in Indonesia?
The Chipsons, they've been calling them. I guess. I guess every one of them's every Gibson's going to be a Chipson now. I don't know.
Wow.
But that'll be interesting
That's
to see
everybody.
what they're gonna do with that, because they're saying it's going to open up like design options for them. And I don't know. We'll see what's going to happen.
And they're going to raise the price and get them cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Jeez.
Be interesting. But I mean, I guess it's something that they had to do, because you can't get on the internet nowadays without seeing a custom guitar manufacturer or maker from someplace.
Right.
But I don't know.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
That's true.
Yeah. What do you play? What's your preferred?
I've got a Carbon 7-string. That's my main guitar.
Wow.
and they don't even make those anymore.
No,
Nope, they don't.
They're
actually.
now aren't they now Kiesel? Isn't it the same
Keisel,
family?
Kiesel, yeah.
Keisel, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and I
those
have a-
are made in Indonesia now, too.
no.
They better not be, because I've been talking to them to order one of them.
Right.
I've actually played the Kiesels, or however it is that they pronounce it there.
They look nice. I mean, I haven't tried one.
I think that
real yet.
they are probably one of the better manufacturers around. I've got a friend that only plays them, and every time I picked one of his guitars up, the necks are just absolutely beautiful.
Nice.
They really are. I mean, they play as well as they look.
It's probably because it's the same Carbon people, isn't it?
It is.
It's like they just changed the name. And
Something like that.
What's cool about my guitar is when I ordered it, this was 13, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
I got to see it go through the production line. I ordered it from California where Carbon was, chose everything I wanted on it, and I could see it for 2 months going through the phases, paint shop, electronics, and then it arrived at my door within 2 or 3 days
Wow.
of when they said it would.
Yeah.
So it was really cool.
And that's exactly the way it is, because if you go onto their website right now, you literally build your own guitar. Your colors, your pickups, different types of necks and the whole bit. And you send it in and you pick up the phone and call them. And if you ask them, hey, what do you think of this combination? They'll be honest with you and say, yeah, that's not really going to work. I mean, they're actually pretty good about it. So.
Mine was $1,000 too. I'm not sure what a 7-string from Keisel would cost now. Maybe $2 or $3.
Well over $2. Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure it would be beautiful too. But
yeah. So if anybody from the company is listening, we're looking for sponsors.
We are looking for sponsors.
Yeah. And we would be more than happy to try some of your stuff out for you.
That's right.
And,
email Ray at rockandrollchicago.net.
Right.
Do it right now.
That's right. No, the reason why I picked that up really, because I will tell you the first thing that struck me when I listened to the first song, really, and tell me if I'm right, you plug straight into your amp.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I didn't hear a whole heck of a lot of processing going on.
No.
I didn't hear, a lot of like transistor radio type sound and distortions and stuff, which, the typical sounds that you would hear from the type of music that you guys play. I was listening to that thinking this guy's just plugging straight into his amp.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much. No effects. I've got a wah pedal and a delay pedal for solos.
Yeah.
That's
nice.
pretty much it.
And what's your amp?
I'm using the EVH 5150 now.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. A newer one or an older one?
I've had it 5-6 years now.
Okay.
So
were they owned by Fender then? I don't know. Cause I know,
I think Peavy owned them for a while.
Yeah. You're exactly right. Yeah.
A friend of ours, Jeff, might know that.
Yeah.
We
can't answer this for you.
Yeah.
We love this out. He bought that amp and he said, John, I'm going to play this for a second. Let me know what you think. He hit one chord. I go, dude, this is freaking it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, that's good. Well, tell us a little bit about yourselves then. I think everybody can pretty much know you guys are playing some heavy music, I guess heavy metal would be the best description of it nowadays, because there's so many different descriptions to call, when you're talking about heavy music nowadays.
Yeah.
When I think of heavy metal, I think of the traditional sounds like Iron Maiden and stuff like that. And you guys kind of have a little bit of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I also hear a little bit of like Southern rock, or,
Really?
tone in some of the stuff that you guys do as well. So I'm going to shut up. Let you guys tell us about it.
Ever heard that? Eric, what you want to say about that?
I mean, I'm just thinking, those were our influences. Iron Maiden, Priest, Black Sabbath from back in the day. But then like Al and I, for example, I didn't know him back then, but in the late 90s, early 2000s, I started getting into European power metal, Evergrey and Flames, Stradivarius, Camelot, even though Camelot was from the States, but they had that European sound.
That right.
And so I guess I kind of just started writing in that fashion. So I started this band like around 2002 in Austin, Texas.
Right. Saw that. Yeah.
And I was writing the songs in probably 1999, 2000. I started writing the first couple songs. But yeah, those were the influences we pulled from the old school, but then trying to go new school a little bit too. We wanted to be original too. And then like when I met John later, he's an original drummer. So that added to the originality too.
Right. Was he your first phone call when you were putting the band together?
When I moved to Chicago, actually, he was one of the first people I started jamming with.
Okay, so the guys when you put the band together in Austin, it was a completely different group of guys.
It was this band has been through about 27, 28 guys since I started it. And I left you guys a list
and
right
you guys
there.
are on the bubble, so
I think I'm number 28.
Yeah, he might be 28, right. Marco was 27, our latest guitar player. But that's kind of my take on it, is I want to have a little of, my influences from when I was growing up, but I like so much new music too. I don't want to sound like my band's dated either.
Right.
I don't want to sound like we're stuck in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I don't know what their takes on it would be.
John?
He's putting you on the spot.
This is when you guys talk.
Yeah.
It's your turn.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, I've played in so many bands through the years and so many genres, if you will. And when I met Eric, to me, it's about, you hear a song, and as a drummer, I don't just, say, oh, I want to sound like this guy. You want to really add your stamp on it. And I felt like me and Eric, not just that we were good friends, we became friends very early on. And you put your drum parts to it, and you want it to solidify the sound of that band. It's just what you do.
Right.
And I just really enjoyed it. I mean, we were, even when we weren't in bands together, because I was in and out, I was in different bands in parts of that, but we always kept in contact. And he'd be like, yeah, John, while you're over having a beer, hey, can you just throw a drum track down? I got this idea. And I would still mess around with ideas with him. And you never knew what was going to happen.
Right.
But it was always great. And I ended up coming back in the band a few years back, and I've been in ever since, and I've been enjoying it.
How long has that been?
That was since
2019 when he came back. And
yeah, it was pre-COVID, and then COVID happened.
we started recording.
So you're like 24 or 25.
When we recorded Speed of Dreams, it was the strangest thing because COVID hit, and he had all these great ideas for this album. And I was still in another band, which was called Iron Finger, and then they changed it to Reflexicon. I was still in that band, and I'm laying down these drum tracks for these songs. I'm not even in the band yet. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to hear, as the songs are coming together, vocals are on it, leads are on it, and all that. I'm listening back going, holy shit. Yeah. This is too good to pass up.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I stayed with it, and I couldn't do both bands and ended up sticking with this, and happy with that. So.
Right. So when a guitar player says that they're going to, I want to sound like this particular person. I want to sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan, or I want to sound like Eric Johnson or whatever. Guitar player goes out and buys that kind of guitar and looks at their pedal board and looks at their amplifiers and the whole bit. But when a drummer, not being a drummer myself, explain to me, how does a drummer decide, okay, I'm going to sound like John Bonham?
Well, first of all, you, as a drummer, you're going to know, you're going to have your sound. Mm-hmm. John Bonham had his own sound in spades. I mean, he had a groove that was amazing, and he was one of my biggest influences. And so you're not really going to want to even sound like that guy, even though you love him. You want to sound like you. And I tell any drummer that. Be you. Right. That's what's most important. Serve the song, but be you at the same time.
Was it the tone of his drums? Was it the way that he played? What was most distinctive about it?
In the case of Bonham, it was really more about that groove. He always had that sweet backbeat kind of groove that just made the song just have air.
Right.
And I would like to think that that's influenced me, as a drummer.
Right. So. Right. Yeah. When a guitar player talks about stuff like that, they're literally talking about the sound, the tone.
Right. Yeah.
They're not talking about, I love the way he strums his strings. No, I mean,
Right.
I have never heard a guy hit an A like that ever.
Yeah.
My God.
Exactly.
Unless you're talking about B.B. King.
Okay.
I mean, B.B. King could hit an A note and hold it forever. And say more with that one note.
And it was pretty.
Go out to dinner and come back, and he's still holding it.
And he's still holding that thing.
You go out for a bite and
So are you playing through Indonesian drums?
Right? No, I'm not. The ones that I use in the studio are my DW. That's Drum Workshop. I love their sound.
I agree.
The tone of them is amazing. And oddly enough, their sister company is called Pacific, or PDP, if you will. Yep. And that's the kit that I always take to all our shows, because even though they sound amazing, I love the sound of them. It's almost as good as DW, not quite. They're nowhere near as expensive. So when I play somewhere and someone's bumping my equipment because it has to be moved quickly, I'm not getting mad at people. I don't have to say, all right, let's go.
Yeah. Right. Gosh, you gave me a flashback. I was in a band about 10 years ago. We played at the Roundhouse over in Aurora. And it was the night that an Illinois roller derby team won the championship. Oh. So all of a sudden you've got you got just about 20 crazy girls, man, roller derby team. They're at the show having an absolute blast. One of them jumps up on stage and leaps into the air and lands on the bass drum. My drummer's kit. She's literally standing on top of it. And all of a sudden the drums go away. And I'm like, what the heck, happened? I turned around, looked for a drummer, and he's standing there pointing a stick in their face. Get off now! Get off!
Hey,
Awesome.
you love your drums.
Yeah.
You're going to care about them. You're not going to have somebody standing on them.
That's
I
right.
am sorry.
That's
Not
right.
going to happen.
She was great. She stood up there. She's like, yeah, she's got the horns up and like this, facing him.
Yeah, it's like,
Facing him, standing
thank
on
you
his
for
own.
that. Get off.
I know you're on a roller derby team, but you've never come closer to death.
Yeah.
I was going to say, she's holding 2 fingers up in each hand. He's
yeah,
got one in each.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
So who was the, so when you got to Chicago, who was the first person that you called? How'd you start constructing the band here in the Chicago area?
So I was living in Champaign for 8 years,
right.
but I met my ex-wife now, but at the time I had just met her down there, and she immediately got a job up here in
Okay.
Chicago. So I started coming up here, and the first person I met actually was Joe Martina.
Okay.
And he's on our 2008 demo as a singer, and he was in a band called Judas Rising, a Judas Priest tribute here and there, which I fill in for them once in a while, actually play with them here and there. So he was the first guy. Then I met some other people like Steve Reimer, who's ended up being on our 2012 EP. And I met John around 2011. So it was 2007, then 2009,
Steve
2011.
was in the
Everybody
band.
started kind of coming into place. And for a while, I was pulling guys from out of state. So Dan Banker's from the Blackened Metallica tribute
Right.
here in town.
Oh yeah, right.
So he used to live in Iowa. We used to call him Iowa Dan.
Yep.
So he
Iowa
was in the
Dan.
band for a while. He used to come to Champaign and work with us and Joe. And then my old buddy Bruce used to fly out from Maine, where I'm originally from.
Okay.
And we were just cutting demos back then. The band didn't play live till 2012.
Okay.
And I started it 10 years before that. So
Right,
it took
right.
a long time to really get it to where we were playing live. It was a studio project.
Right.
That's
Really?
when the EP, when we did the EP, was 2012.
2012.
Right. And you were the first drummer that we did gigs with.
Wow.
So
I didn't
we
even-
played
that's funny.
nightcaps.
I didn't even know that. So
Yeah.
how about that, folks?
There you go. That's right.
Right. So actually,
You're just the live guys. All that
Right.
is.
So
Yeah.
just a live guy, yeah.
so
Whatever.
Drew and Dan from Blackened now were in the lineup with John when we did our first gigs.
Okay.
And we played Nightcap and we did the Warriors Metal Fest in Ohio.
Oh wow.
That was the hellacious storm.
Right. That was the big storm
Oh my
day.
God, that was bad.
But it was a good experience.
Kind of like
and,
tonight.
And
No. This was way, way beyond that. It was a terrible storm that hit.
yeah,
And by
you
the
couldn't
time-
even see in front of you driving down the road when
Yeah.
we were coming
Right.
back.
Snow or rain?
Rain.
It was
summer.
tornadoes
Okay.
and everything else. And on the
Yeah,
way
it was
back
wild.
home, it was crazy too.
Right.
So yeah, interesting.
So you're basically based in Chicago. I mean, there's a lot of great rock clubs around here in the Chicago area. What made you decide that you were going to go and play in Ohio or play in Iowa or play wherever the heck instead of just staying around here?
So in the 90s, I was in a band called Living Impaired, and we toured a lot. So I came and I played Chicago 5 times before I ever moved here.
Okay.
Played at Riley's Rock House in Aurora, played at the Big Horse on Milwaukee, played at Phyllis's. I'm trying to think where else. But we played a bunch of times here and toured. So I just like to be on the road anyway.
Yeah.
And play wherever,
Right.
Yeah,
So if they'll allow us,
Yeah.
we'll play a
right.
stage.
If you want to give us a gig, we'll go.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
But
That's
a couple
nice.
summers ago, we went on the road right before Al joined, actually, with Taryn. So we did 2 shows in Ohio. We played Providence,
I
Rhode
still call him
Island.
Tehran, but that's all right.
Tehran, right?
Yeah.
And we played Providence and Lewiston, Maine, where I'm from.
Okay.
Went up there and played a hometown show for me, hometown. But they got to meet all my buddies up there. And
Earlier, you're saying you guys just finished backing up a few big names.
yeah, we lucked out. It was a crazy year. I could have sworn for 6 or 8 months we couldn't get a gig for the life of us. I'm like, guys, no one's booking us. Everybody I call is just not responding. So then all of a sudden in August, we opened up for Anvil at Reggie's. Then in September, we were offered to open up for Soen at the Forge across the street
Yeah, right across the street. Yeah.
from Sweden, which was a great
Turned
show
out to be a
for
great
us.
show.
Yeah.
And then in October, we're getting ready to rehearse. We're at my house, or me and John were, and we got a phone call 2.5 hours before it to go to the Arcada and open for Saga.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And so 3 in a row international acts out of nowhere.
The Saga gig was really interesting because me and Eric are like, well, we'll get ready for rehearsal. We're a couple beers in, and all of a sudden he gets this call. And I'm like, he seems pretty serious. What's his problem? And all of a sudden I find out, John, you want to open for Saga tonight? He go, yeah.
Wait, you said tonight? Wait.
Yeah. In 2.5 hours, we had to be on stage in 2.5 hours.
Oh, wow.
So we scrambled. He calls our guitar player, Marco. He's like, I'm 20 minutes from the house. He's like, pull over.
Around, go over to the Arcata.
Yeah.
He got, one of us got a hold of, you got a hold of Al. Or did I?
Yeah, I called Al and told
I
him.
called Lance, our bass player. I'm like, Lance, do you think you can do this?
Right. Yeah.
Can you do this for a brother?
Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, no question.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go.
Right.
Well, and he was recovering from surgery at the time, too.
Right.
So
Oh,
he
wow.
wasn't even supposed to be performing.
Yeah.
Right.
But he was like, well, we got a chance to open for Saga.
So he went for it.
He's
Can't
like,
turn
bring
this
my
down.
amp. He
The
said, bring
show
my
must
amp
go
for
on.
me. And-
Yeah, show must go on. Hey, so I pop a stitch or whatever. You know, we go get a song back up.
It turned out to be an amazing show.
Right.
We got there in just the nick of time. All the people that ran the place at the Arcata, soundmen, everyone, they were fantastic to deal with. We get up there, got on stage, boom.
Yeah.
Great show.
And
They're
we got
pros over there,
We
so.
got to thank Scott Davidson from Rebel Radio
Yes.
for that
Scott,
one. So
you're
you guys
awesome.
know Scott, I'm guessing, maybe.
Well, not personally, no.
Okay.
But I was going to ask,
But-
how did you just
Yeah,
get?
he threw our name in the pot. They called him up and asked him if he knew a band that would open,
Oh, no kidding.
and he called us. It's like,
Yeah.
wow,
Very nice.
you know.
Now, do you guys have representation, or are you booking the band most
I've
of the time
been
yourself?
pretty much representing it for years. It would be nice
Okay.
to get some outside representation, maybe on the next album.
Well, you must have a secret then, because most people representing themselves don't just get called by national acts saying, "Hey, come on over and."
Well, I think it's just been stay in the course.
Yeah.
Just
And
keep
some
doing
street
it.
cred. What's up?
A little.
Yeah,
We have
you
a
know.
little street cred. We've been around a long time. I think that helps.
Right.
And people know when we play live, we don't mess around. We get up there and we do it.
Mm-hmm.
We give it to them when we play live.
You're listening to the Rock and Roll Chicago Podcast.
Hi, I'm Rick Anthony. I'd like to thank my radio brothers, Ray the Roadie and Hollywood Mike, for allowing me to tell you about my podcast, the Someone You Should Know podcast. We spotlight musicians, authors, and interesting people, and we like to say we're making a difference one artist at a time. The podcast is heard twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays, and you can check it out on your favorite streaming platforms and on the web at someoneyoushouldknowpodcast.com. That's the Someone You Should Know podcast with me, Rick Anthony. Making a difference, one artist at a time.
I'm Christy from Crime Cave Podcast. I've had a huge interest in true crime since my days of watching marathons of Snapped back in the mid-90s. I needed an outlet to talk about the cases that have haunted me for a very long time. With each episode under 20 minutes, I shine a light on some of the most bizarre cases in the last 50 years. Join me in the Crime Cave.
Now, are you guys looking to book more smaller shows? Or are you looking to do more things like for national acts and stuff like that?
That would be great to do more national acts.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get on festivals, too.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Yeah, because unfortunately, a lot of the really cool rock clubs have all started to turn into pop clubs.
We all know
And
that.
I hate
It's
to
all,
say that.
Oh, we have tribute bands tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's become.
It is.
And I'm not downing it. I'm not downing it
Yeah.
because it's still great in its own way. But,
And people have to, bar owners have to make money, and that's what's making money for them
They
a little
know.
bit. But
Yeah.
man, every once in a while, it would be nice to find a place that's just like, yeah, we just want original bands, or or whatever,
Right.
or something that's not a tribute band. I don't care if you play covers, just the tribute bands. Everywhere you look, it's tribute bands. And I literally had somebody yesterday say, "Are you guys a tribute band?" No, we're not a tribute band. Oh, that's what we're booking. We're booking tribute.
Right.
right.
It's an epidemic.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah. So when did you join the band?
So I joined the band a little over 2 years ago.
Okay.
So I've been singing actively in bands in the area for almost 20 years now.
Okay.
And I grew up in a household with a dad who was pretty young. And so in the 80s, he was all about, White Snake and Dio and Dokken and, all the bands that were really popular at that time. So here I am as a little 3-year-old traipsing around in our apartment and I'm hearing all this heavy stuff. And
Right.
it clearly had an influence on me because that's the style of singing that I'm into. So, But growing up in the 90s in particular, going to high school between 94 and 99, everybody my age was listening to stuff like Korn and, Limp Bizkit and all of that stuff. And so I was a total outcast. I had a mullet and ripped jeans and, everyone thought that I was the lamest kid ever. Right. Now, kids who were my age, if I was that age now, rather,
right,
I'd be like the most popular kid ever. I would just need a mustache and I'd be all set.
You mentioned 94 to 99. Little trouble in high school, or that's 6 years?
Well, you figure. Or I'm sorry, 95.
That's still
I'm
5.
just bad at math. But yeah, so from 95 to 99, I was in high school. But then in the 2000s, started working in a record store. Met musicians just through working there. And I got into my first serious band, which was this power metal band called Bav Morta. And it just kind of snowballed from there. I joined one band after another to the point where I've probably been in at least a baker's dozen bands now.
Right.
And so when these guys lost Taran, depending on who you're talking to,
Right.
I had gotten word through one of my bandmates in a band that I just recently left. And he had told me what had happened. And I happened to have Eric's phone number because we had done shows together with our respective bands over the years. And so I gave him a call and I said, hey, I just heard about you guys losing your singer. I'm really sorry. If you guys have any gigs coming up, in the immediate future and you don't want to turn them down, let me know. I'll be happy to fill in.
Right. So we booked one.
Yeah. So
just like we don't have any, but we'll book one.
Yeah. Little did I know the gears were spinning in this guy's head. He's like, I'm going to rope this guy in.
Yeah.
So I end up learning a bunch of their songs for a show and we have a blast doing it. The rehearsals were great. We just all got along super well.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where they were just like, well, hey, we're working on a new song. Why don't we have you see what you can do with this? And then it came to, well, now we got these other gigs that we really want to do. What, do you think you can do these? So I joined, I did my first gig with them in October of 2022. By February, actually really by January of 2023, I was like, all right, I'm just in the band now.
Yeah, not much needed to be said. He was pretty much in. But one thing that was cool, when we put that album out, he actually picked it up. He was still in his other band, Accuracy. That's how we met him. Fierce Atmospheres played with Accuracy on a festival at Brower House in 2014. But when we put out Speed of Dreams, he called me personally to say how much he liked the album.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, that's really cool. Thanks, and... So when he found out Taran left, it was almost like a natural thing that he would have done that, like asked to fill in for us or something, Right. It was pretty cool.
And he's fit in with us. I mean, hey, we're abrasive, we're assholes, and he's like, you know what?
And that's why nobody wants to book metal bands in their club anymore. That's
right.
It's all because of you guys.
We got a bad rap, bad attitude.
God, what a dick. No.
But in a good way. Al
good dick. Just so you know, he's good dick.
Al appreciated us. What can you say?
Right.
They sound good, but they're all dicks.
So listening to you guys, so you're talking about how you guys all came together and stuff, and it was kind of like fate. Did you guys know that today is a very, very, very important day in the history of rock and roll? In
December 4th.
December 4th, 1956.
Oh.
Is that the day that music died?
No. That is the day that Carl Perkins was in the studio at Sun Studios. And then guys, Johnny Cash, Elvis Presley,
Memphis.
Jerry Lee Lewis.
Oh, wow.
These guys were literally, like, I think Johnny Cash was there to pick up a paycheck, and Elvis walked in for some other reason, and Jerry Lee Lewis walked in for some other reason. And today is the day that they created that $1 Million Quartet.
Wow.
That,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
cool.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That was to be a fly on the wall and listen to a jam session like that, huh? Can you imagine that kind of thing?
That's awesome.
But I just thought that was really cool. You guys were talking about how it all came together. It was kind of like fate and the whole bit. So how many albums do you guys have out?
Well, there's only 2. 3 if you include the EP, right?
There's 2 full-length albums and 5 EPs.
Okay.
And then
those
we
are
also
not
have
full
been, what's that?
You're saying 5 EPs.
Yeah, it's on there.
But only one's original.
Oh.
But
Maybe we should read the bio.
5 EPs. But we've also,
I'm sure it's what I read online.
we recorded a bunch of covers also.
Okay.
For a record label called Versailles Records, and they put out 8 out of 10 albums that we recorded. So I don't know what happened to the label. We haven't talked to Jake in a long time. So besides our, 2 full-length albums, 5 EPs, we've been on 8 other records, just doing 1 cover on each of those, though.
And you've worked with some producers and mixers that people would recognize too.
Yeah, our latest one was mixed by Andy LaRock from King Diamond, and we're hoping to record the next one with him in Sweden.
Wow!
So
you guys have done some recording out of the country.
We've done recording all over the States.
Okay.
I've recorded we've recorded twice in Nashville. We've recorded in Rochester, New Hampshire, Tampa.
Okay.
Up in Maine, mostly demo stuff for those. But Nashville, our last album before Speed of Dreams was recorded in Nashville at Blackbird Studios.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So you guys just say, what the heck? We're going to Nashville this way. And you guys just pick up and go and do it. Wow.
And once we did, it's hard to turn back. Once you've worked in a world-class studio, it's not as much fun to record in someone's basement
of course.
anymore.
Of course.
It lost its luster,
Yeah. And once you've worked with somebody that has been in the industry for a long time and they've worked with other people that you've heard of and you're recognizable, it's kind of difficult to go back to your buddy's son, Tom, who just graduated from the University of Arizona.
And it's not right. And it's not to say you can't get good tracks in a home studio because we recorded Speed of Dreams at my place.
Right.
But I just think it's time to do it again in a bigger way.
biggest difference? What's the big difference between somebody who really knows what they're doing and somebody that's just kind of okay?
I think it's just the tones you're going to get for one. The tones you're going to get are, you know, way different than what you would get maybe from someone else like that. But then it's just the experience and it's the vibe. I think it helps make the album sound a certain way when you're in a different city, recording out of your comfort zone. You're not sleeping in your own bed at night. You're in Nashville for 4 days. Mm-hmm. It just changes the way everything feels.
Yeah.
To me, that's a big part of it, what I like about it.
Yeah. It feels like maybe they're pulling the best out of you.
Yeah, that too. You're on the spot. You're on the clock.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, like working at Blackbird was incredible. I mean, we had $100,000 in microphones on the drums. There was 22 tracks going for the drums alone. And I mean, we were working through a 99 channel console. I mean, just being there was amazing.
Yeah.
Just being in that environment, you know.
That's the big difference. I mean, you get a sound that, you know, you're not just putting a mic on every single drum and going with it,
Right.
and trying to duplicate it digitally.
Exactly. Fix it in the mix. You know,
Right,
a lot of people
yeah.
try to do that. They'll just record and then fix it after. It's like, man, get it right the first time.
Yeah.
Get it right then.
Right. But isn't it important that everything sounds perfect nowadays?
It is in metal, especially too. Everybody wants everything on the grid and everything's got to be perfect. But
That, of course, was a rhetorical question because, I mean, I already knew the answer to it, but that's exactly it.
There's a lot of pressure for it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And you can hear it. You can hear it when somebody, you know, stretches out a note using Pro Tools as opposed to going back and re-recording the track.
Right.
You can hear it. And that kind of takes away a little bit of the, I don't know, the mystique. You know, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of our favorite albums weren't done with click tracks and all that back in the day.
Yeah.
Listen to Black Sabbath's albums and the tempos are going.
Yep. Yep. And what's the famous Beatles song where Paul McCartney literally hit a wrong note on the bass and they left it in? What was the song?
I don't remember that one.
I can't remember, but I know that's a story. And Paul McCartney talks about it all the time when they interview him. He's like, yeah, I want to hear my mistakes. And he literally made a mistake. And they said, no, I'll leave it. And now that I know where it is, I can hear it.
Don't forget, you can hear John Bonham's pedal squeak on their first album.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you have to really listen carefully, but you can actually hear it. So it's amazing.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because, you know, the other important day in rock history today was 2 months after John Bonham's death, Led Zeppelin decided to break up. That happened today.
Well, they knew the moment he died, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, they knew.
Well, they announced it, I guess.
Yes.
In December 4th, 1980 is when they decided, yep, we're done.
We'd like to welcome our historian this evening.
Yeah. Right. He definitely is. I mean, hey,
He's good with Google.
I am great with Google. I can Google with the best of them. In fact, that's going to be the name of my next band. Google with the best of them.
All right.
yes, with the best.
All right.
So who's your favorite singer?
Oh boy. Favorite singer would have to be Ray Alder of Fate's Warning. Not very well known unless you're really big into progressive metal. But I mean, that guy is just phenomenal. So emotive with his voice. He used to be like a high pitched wailer back in the day, but he really weaned off of that over the years, and his mid range is something I want to just, if I could touch it,
right?
I would caress it. I would make sweet love to it. It's amazing.
That's a whole different podcast.
Right.
Yeah, we're not getting judgy here. Okay, thanks.
I may have said too much.
Maybe.
Join us next week for the Kinky Rockers podcast.
Yeah. So now, do you have any, classical training yourself?
I have very little training. I basically just learned singing by just listening to albums and trying to match what those singers were doing. I spent a lot of years just in my bedroom as a teenager, probably destroying my
caressing
parents'
other
ears.
people's voices.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Again, next week's podcast.
Rubbing it with his toes.
For a different episode.
But yeah, I just spent a lot of years just trying to sing along to the albums I love. And I eventually took a few lessons here and there with some with some voice instructors in the area. But when they would ask me what I want to sing, and my response was, well, I want to sing metal.
Yes.
They're like, well, wait, did you say mental? And I would, no, I just overpronounced the T for one.
He really does, doesn't he, folks?
But for another thing, as soon as they hear metal, they're like, ooh, we don't
want anything to do with that. Yeah.
If you want to learn how to sing classical or jazz, we've got you. And I'm like, I like that stuff, but I want to be able to sing with power and, have some, like a super extensive range. And they're like, we don't know what to do.
Yeah. I don't know how to train a diaphragm that's going, I don't know how to do that. No, but you know what, singing your style of music, I'm also a vocalist. It's like, it's work.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, you've got to be up on your cardio. I mean, you really have to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
And on my diet, I definitely need to be up on my cardio. So.
Man. So tell us a little bit about the folks that aren't here, just so everybody knows who they are.
Oh, the folks that aren't here.
Oh, man, we get the trash talking. Here we
Yeah.
go.
Right. Well, we got Lance on bass. He plays with a pick. You know, sometimes people think, oh, you're playing metal with a pick. It's still cool. Lance is still cool. He gets a great tone. He's an awesome guy, great bass player, and he does some great harmony vocals.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, good.
Real good range.
You know, believe it or not, some bass players play with a bow.
Indeed, they do.
In fact, it started off that way. There was a young man by the name of Mozart.
Yes, indeed.
Right.
He's looking at Google again.
Right.
But yeah, and Lance is great, and he writes a lot of his own stuff. In fact, I was recording some drums for that, and that I don't know what he's going to do with it.
Didn't
But
pan out.
But he's got great ideas, and he adds his mark to our songs as well. He comes up with bass parts. He'll listen to the basic idea. The way the songs are normally happening is Eric will originate these really cool ideas, and he'll say, John, what do you think? I'll listen to it, and okay, I think I got some ideas.
Right.
We'll lay down drums, we'll haggle over things, and then Lance will come in and lay his bass down and all that stuff.
And Lance has been in the band quite a while. He started pretty early on, maybe 2014. He was in Nashville with us to record at that time before Speed of Dreams. He was on our Pariahs, Misfits, and Sinners record. Then he left for a while, though, and then came back, kind of like John. But Lance has been back with us since 2018, maybe.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Straight through. It's been us three, John and Lance and I, for the last 6 years, probably solid 5 anyway, solid.
Yeah.
And we work well together.
Yeah. And Marco, our latest guitar player, he's been with us 3 years, and he was referred to us by Taryn, our old singer. So they knew each other from way back, and he's like, hey, I know this kid, he's really good. And he's like 25 years younger than me.
Yeah, he's a young guy.
Yeah, he's the baby of the band at 29.
He is, but he follows along and shreds right with us, and he can play all the stuff really
He went
well.
to Berkeley, by the way.
Oh, did he really? Yeah.
Yeah, so he's
one of those guys.
He's a good, clean player, though. He truly is.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah, and I think he's found like his way in the band, his comfort zone. He seems to be pretty comfortable with us now on stage and stuff.
Right.
And he's getting good at ball busting with the rest of us.
Yeah,
First,
well, that's good.
Nothing to do with that, but now he's working his way in there.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's good. You know, I've found that, these guys that are classically trained like that, they've gone to places like Berkeley and stuff like that. I absolutely love playing with those guys live if you can get them to step out of their own head for a little while.
Yeah, a lot of thought going on.
Yeah, look up from your guitar and look at all those people out there just screaming and yelling for you right now. Okay,
Right.
enjoy that.
Interact.
He enjoys it.
Yeah, he does. He's kind of found his way and his own into the band. It was probably uncomfortable for him in the beginning because we're all like, he's over 30 years older than him. I'm 25 years older than him. Lance is 27, 28 years older than him. So it was probably a little awkward at first for him.
Yeah.
But even our last guy, Sean, that's playing on Speed of Dreams. He was just like 4 or 5 years older than Marco too. So we have a couple young guitar players come through.
Yeah.
But they seem to fit in and hang with us, and if they can hang with our nonsense.
They love us. Who wouldn't?
So you feel like you feel like you've got the crew going forward now for a while.
It seems it. It feels it. Feels pretty good right now.
Yeah. You got anything coming up that you're excited about in the? I guess at this point it'd be like in the new year.
Yeah, it would be the new year.
Or plans that you have coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, we're working on it.
And what country are you going to be in for that one?
I'm not sure. I don't know
Hopefully
if it'll be
Sweden.
Sweden or not, but it might be.
Does Indonesia have any recording studios?
No.
We'll be importing our guitars from
Yeah.
But I am going to go to Google one more time because I told you there was 3 important dates. There was three things that happened on this day in music history. And this is completely coincidental or ironic, whatever you want to say. But in 1971, this is the day Montreux burnt to the ground. During a Frank Zappa performance.
Yes,
right. It sparking the inspiration for Smoke on the Water.
Right.
Yep.
And Montreux is where?
France.
Switzerland.
Somewhere around there.
France. Is it France or Switzerland?
I don't know. Where is it?
No, it's Switzerland.
It is Switzerland.
Google it again, my friend.
It is Switzerland.
Yes.
It's Switzerland.
I was right
You're
the
right.
first time. Right.
Yeah. Look
And
at
the
that.
next question goes to
Yeah. It must be answered in the form of a question.
right.
Yeah, at this point in this situation, it has to be in the form of a question.
Yes.
Montreux sounds French to me.
Yeah. Well, it does. I mean, they're all
Part of Switzerland is really close to France, so they speak French in certain parts of Switzerland.
All those countries are like a 6-hour drive from one another.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
See?
It's like driving from one state to another.
I'm just a big dumb singer.
Hey, no, you're not dumb.
Who knows? Who knows?
I'm not big either.
You're a great singer, though.
So we got a few more minutes left. What do you want everybody to know about you guys?
Talk about the new CD.
Talk about that. I mean, if we're looking into the new year right now, we're looking at some dates coming up, maybe a show in February at Sound Growler Brewing in Tinley Park. We're in talks with them. We don't have a specific date yet, but the main thing right now is our new album. We have about 9 or 10 songs worth of music. Al's probably got lyrics for 6, 7 of them right now, and we're in pre-production. John and I work a lot in the studio, putting the songs together. We're doing 2 of those songs live now. So we've started playing them actually live, and that's the main goal right now, is to just put out a new album.
And let me touch on that for a second, because this is kind of cool, in my opinion. Eric had said to me, you know what, with this CD, I really think it'd be great if before we record them, we get a chance to play these live a lot, because then that feel is going to be there. And I'm like, you know what? That's fantastic. That's a great idea. So we started doing that with these newer songs. And we're up to only 2 now that we're playing.
Only 2, but we're on the 3rd.
We're on the 3rd one. Yeah, that one will probably be at our next show.
Right.
And it really, when you get to play it live, I think it kind of solidifies that feel of that song. You know what I mean? You can be in the studio. It's kind of a stagnant environment, if you will. And you want that live sound. You want that power. You want that inertia in that song.
Right.
And I think that only comes from playing it live.
Yeah. And with the last
absolutely.
album, we had time constraints because of working with Andy out in Sweden. He had to finish the project up after a while. He was like, guys, I gotta finish this with you, you know? So we wrote the last couple songs in the studio. We never even played them live. We just had to finish them and write them.
It was crazy.
And send them off.
Right.
So now those songs sound a little different because we've been playing them live for 3 years.
You know, I insist on that. In fact, I've done enough recording and stuff in my lifetime to know exactly what you're talking about. I've never liked writing a song in the studio and then you hear it and it sounds like you've written it in the studio, because 6 months later, after you've been playing the song live, you're like, it sounds absolutely nothing like the recording anymore. Yeah. You got to take it out on the road for a little bit and let it develop into what it's going to be, and then transfer that energy into the recording. I agree with that.
You guys 100%. Plan on doing any vinyl?
We did that one on vinyl, and we do hope to do the next one on vinyl.
Nice.
So
it's hard to turn back. You know, once you've done it on vinyl, you got to put everything.
That is
on
a
vinyl
huge
after.
thing nowadays. It's so huge.
But we only made 250 copies, and I think we have 50 left. So we sold a couple hundred of them.
Right. Excellent.
Yeah, nice to see it coming back.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that it came back like that.
Yep.
Well, I think we're done.
I think so.
Yeah. You guys are awesome, man.
That was a lot of fun.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Thanks for
talking
having
to you
us.
guys.
Yeah, for sure. Very cool.
We'll see you out there.
We'll see you out there somewhere.
Nice.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I wonder if they play Indonesia.
I don't know. I bet you they would, though.
Probably.
I mean, they're all over the world.
They are. They said they're going to go back to Switzerland.
Yeah, you know, when we agreed to do the interview, didn't we tell them that you have to be, you know, have ties to Chicago? I mean, they're not here enough.
Yeah, exactly. But no, they got the ties to Chicago.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, man. They're doing a lot of another albums coming out. And
Bunch
stuff.
of guys just decide, hey, you guys want to go to Switzerland or whatever, or Sweden, or
that's where we want to record.
Or you want to go to Nashville? Sure, and they just pack up and go to Nashville.
just go. That's nice.
They must not be married.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't know. But that was a good time with them guys. Glad to meet them. And make sure you get out there and see them wherever they're playing. Just want to let you know this is our last podcast for 2024. We're going to take a little break over the holidays and come back after the new year. So we hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we'll see you guys in 2025. Hey, everybody, it's Ray the Roadie.
And this is Hollywood Mike of the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast. If you've been enjoying our weekly program, we have great news for you. Just tune in to Road to Rock Radio on Mondays at 7 p.m. Central Time, and you can hear a rebroadcast of one of our past episodes. Then again on Thursdays at 7 p.m., you can hear our most current episode brought to you by the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66.
So go to roadtorock.org, scroll down, and click on Radio Station. That'll bring you to the Road to Rock Radio, a station committed entirely to the great music from Illinois, from Chicago blues born on Maxwell Street to today's rock and roll and everything in between. 24/7, all music with its roots in Illinois. The Rock and Roll Chicago podcast is edited by Paul Martin. Theme song courtesy of M&R Rush. The Rock and Roll Chicago podcast does not own the rights to any of the music heard on the show. The music is used to promote the guests that are featured.
Chicago.